Today's action, we've got Larry Shover in the pits of the CME in our market panel, Mark Travis, president of Intrepid Capital Management, and Charles Babrinskoy, Ariel Focus Fund vice chairman. Let's actually go to Adam Shapiro right now. We do have earnings out from Google. Adam, what do you have?
And keep in mind, it's hard to figure out with Google whether they're beating street estimates or not. They've been revised twice today alone, and there was that issue over Motorola Home. But earnings per share coming in, according to Google, at $10.65 on revenue of $11.34 billion. So once again, earnings per share of $10.65 and revenue of $11.34 billion. The stock is trading up roughly 3.5% at this point, guys. Back to you.
That's very interesting because a miss on the revenue side, but a gain on earnings per share, and that perhaps is what's leading to this pop. Larry Shover, you've been looking at it very carefully at Google. Of course, a lot of questions about because they sold Motorola Cable, because Motorola Mobile isn't really into the mix. A lot of questions about how to figure out these numbers.
It's very confusing. I think the street was expecting them to beat on revenue and not beat on earnings per share. So it's been vice versa right now. But you're right. CPC is something everybody's worried about right now. Cost per click. That has gone down given the new use of smartphones and tablet devices, et cetera. So that's put a negative bent on Google. That said, there's been more traffic. So it's a kind of balancing act. Nobody knows what to make of it, and that's really the long and short of it. But let's describe some of the headwinds. I mean, they've had taxation issues. They've had accounting issues. That's something that's weighing heavily on the stock. But going forward, I think people are bullish on Google, thinking that there's going to be a tremendous exponential rise in the use of tablets. That's going to be a beneficiary to Google stock.
Larry, as we're pouring through this earnings release right now, one of the things that's popping out, and this is indicative of the transition to mobile that we're seeing, average cost per click for Google in the quarter down by 6%. What does that mean to you?
Well, that means what's happened to the stock over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think people were expecting that. Maybe that was baked into the stock, and perhaps if you're like me and think it's a good long-term buy, now's the time to start dabbling back into Google, because I think the market was expecting that.
You know, there's another figure that they just came out with. Paid clicks are actually have increased 24%. Maybe that's one reason why the stock is popping as well, 3% after hours.
Yeah, that could very well be. Again, baked into the stock, maybe caught people off guard, but that's the good and the bad of it. I mean, the advertising has gone down, but the number of clicks has gone up, so perhaps that will balance itself out. And beyond all that, people are also expecting some game-changing thing from Google in the next couple, months to maybe years.
Like what?
Let's talk about Glass, like Google Glass, Google Fiber, or perhaps something like a self-driving car, getting it beyond an experimental phase to something that is practical, maybe we could use. Just imagine entering the Lincoln Tunnel Friday afternoon with a bunch of self-driving cars. It would be phenomenal.
It's a scary game-changing, Larry.
Yeah, we know that this is not going to happen in the next 3 or 4 months, but just getting it beyond an experimental phase into something that, hey, maybe this could happen in the next 1 to 2, 3 years.
Larry, last question for you. As we talk about the mobile monetization and advertisers in this space, are Google's problems also Facebook's problems and LinkedIn's problems? Do they share the same problems?
You know, when I talk to people that trade this actively, it seems like yes and no. I mean, I think people recognize that Google really does have a stranglehold on this market, and they're very good at just getting ahead of everybody else. So, yeah, perhaps it is a problem for Facebook and others, but not a problem for Google. I mean, it seems like a long-term good buy right now.
All right. Well, that stock is getting a big pop after hours, about 3 to 4%.
Yeah, that was nice. And thank you so much, Larry. Stick with us. We'll see you in a few minutes when the S&P futures close.